So I had a question for Father Stephen DeYoung.
Oh, I'm just
I
chopped
asked
liver.
it in the chat. Well, I mean either of you. I asked in the chat earlier, but then my phone uh died, so I don't know if you guys answered or not. I was curious. I was listening to Gavin Ortlund's video on church history recently,
Our
and
good friend.
oh yeah, all of his points were super easily refutable, but the one thing that did catch me that I was having a hard time finding anything on, he made a claim that the Dormition is not found at all before the 5th century, and it only pops up in apocryphal texts from Gnostic groups around that time.
I'm going to give
And
Father
I can't
Stephen a
find
moment to
anything.
gather himself. Where
I
are
can't
her
find
relics?
anything on it.
Where are her relics?
Yeah,
Where are
who has
they?
ever
Where are
claimed to
her
have
relics?
any of her bodily relics? No one.
Where are her relics?
Oh, well, the thing that got me too, though, is when I was looking into it, the only quote I could find from a saint prior to the 5th century was Saint Epiphanius saying, "We don't know what happened to her."
Okay. Well, so there's a whole bunch of questions here. Like, so Dr. Ortlund, are you saying she didn't die? I mean, there's no mention of her death before the 4th century, right? So how can we know if she died or not? Right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the
Everything
core of
needs
the
to be
Dormition, right?
Yeah,
Like,
everything needs to be explicitly written.
like which I'm assuming the part he doesn't believe is that her body vanished from the tomb.
Yeah, that she was bodily assumed.
Okay. So
Oh, why is that so controversial?
yeah.
Like,
Number
we see
one,
that
Doesn't
in the
really
Bible.
bother me. It makes sense, but when I was trying to see if there was anything on it historically prior to the 5th century, I couldn't find any.
Well, I would love to have access to whatever library he's using, because apparently he has everything written before the 5th century, and I only have a tiny fraction of those writings that have been preserved to our present day. So I wish he would give the rest of us scholars access to his complete selection of Christian texts.
Well, and they pose this like impossible standard on us that like we have to have everything written. Like, show me your canon prior to Jerome.
Yeah. But my point is, the fact that the earliest text we have that mentions it is from the 5th century does not mean that's the first text that ever mentioned it. Again, Logic 101 class.
They got it from somewhere.
That's the oldest text that has survived to the present day that mentions that.
Yeah. I did see something that apparently
right
Dionysius mentions it, but obviously like Protestants and scholarship don't accept anything from Dionysius.
But when it's first mentioned is not super relevant to whether it happened. Do you see how there's a disconnect there? Because that's also, or maybe Epiphanius, is the first time we have mentioned that she died. I was only being semi-facetious there. But Gavin Ortlund would say, well, we don't know if she died. Right?
Yeah.
We don't know if she died. Right?
Yeah.
Do we have any earlier texts that contradict the fact that her body vanished from the tomb? Do we have, as Alex mentioned, do we have any mention of anyone ever claiming to have any of her bodily relics? No, is the answer.
I would think that'd be a pretty big deal.
I'm pretty sure Epiphanius in his comments when he said we don't know what happened to her, if I remember correctly, it was in response to an emperor or nobleman asking where he could find her relics.
Right.
And he says, we don't have them. We don't know where they are.
We don't know where they are. And we don't have anybody claiming they had them. We have people claiming they have everything.
Yeah.
Right? Like, one of the funniest things John Calvin wrote, probably the only funny thing John Calvin wrote, was he did a tongue-in-cheek inventory of all the relics in Western Europe at the time of the Reformation to kind of ask, like, was the cross 37 feet tall and 27 feet wide from all the pieces people claim to have? And did, say, John the Baptist have 3 heads and 8 legs? And right, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there are fake relics everywhere.
That's such a compelling art because it's like, why didn't they even bother to fake it?
Yes. Why
didn't even
didn't
bother to fake it.
anyone show up saying, I have a finger bone from the Theotokos? Ever.
Yeah. That's
Right?
yeah, that's
And we don't have any mention of her burial site. Okay, I can show you all kinds of early stuff earlier than that, saying, here's where St. John is buried. Here's where St. Mary Magdalene is buried. Here's where the tomb of Christ was. Here's right. We have all these things earlier than that of all these apostles, saints, where St. Paul was buried, where he was martyred. We have all of this information from earlier than that for them.
We have St. Paul's preaching chair.
Yes, we have nothing, no text claiming she was buried anywhere.
gotcha.
So he's just making sort of a weird argument from silence, right? And also, it's a completely bad faith argument. Because we all know, if we found a text from, say, I don't know, 125, and there was nothing heretical about it, right? Nothing obviously heretical about it, from 125 AD. And it said that the Theotokos body had disappeared from the tomb. Ortlund still wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's true. I was gonna say, I mean, anything just from the next generation of apostles that doesn't line up with their disciples, doesn't line up with Protestant theology, they say it's an accretion within first century.
And I could prove that claim I just made. Because we have a text from 125 AD that talks about her birth and her parents' names and her being taken to the temple.
Yeah.
And St. Joseph being an older man with children from a previous marriage. And he doesn't believe any of that.
He doesn't care.
Yes.
Yeah.
Could not care less.
That was one too that obviously atheist scholarship is on his side on that, but I looked it up and Josephus.
How are they on his side?
They're on his side.
I'm not coming at you, by the way. I'm passionate.
Well, they of course don't believe that the body of the
they don't. Well, they don't believe that the text is. Yeah,
it's a legend.
Yeah, but
but it's there as a historical.
So in terms of the atheist scholarship says that Jews had no such practice that looked anything remotely like having temple virgins. Yet Josephus has a commentary where he says that.
Which is
he talked about the 82 virgins making the veil for the temple.
Yes,
you see
Second Maccabees, the virgins at the temple rejoice when they come back. So
Yeah.
Don't let that stop you. But so that's one of the problems with these arguments Ortlund makes, right? Like I tried to bring this out a little when I had that conversation with him, right? Like he's sitting here, show me a text that shows somebody venerating an icon from this century. What he's not saying is that he knows there are texts about venerating relics from that century. That's why he never goes after relics and relic veneration. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
And he never goes after the existence of icons. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
He just goes after venerating icons.
He used to go after the existence of icons until I can't remember, until one of the more recent churches was discovered again with icons all over it. And then he changed it to they didn't venerate them.
Right. So but my point is, show me somebody venerating an icon from this century, as if I could do that, he would believe it. Because I could show him people venerating relics from the same century, and he isn't venerating any relics.
Yeah.
So he's setting up this thing. Oh, you have to do this to prove it to me, but that won't prove it to him. It's bad faith.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's one of the
other things I could prove that way he doesn't believe.
I guess one of the most compelling points that brought me to orthodoxy is like just looking at methodology. Like their methodology is so severely inconsistent. Like not only like internally, just like based on what topic they're talking about, they have like different standards and they don't have a reason for having different standards. It's also like they will impose impossible standards on us to prove things that they themselves won't hold themselves to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it interesting that a lot of the time when Protestants want to argue against atheist or against Orthodox or Catholics, they use the same tactics that they get mad at atheists for using against them.
Extreme skepticism, yeah.
Right. Because they're basically atheists who have bracketed off the Bible.
Yeah.
If it's in the Bible, I have to believe it, even if it's goofy. If it's outside the Bible, I don't have to believe in any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had. Oh man, like you would not believe some of this stuff. I once laid out the whole case. It's airtight archaeologically that St. Thomas went to India. Okay,
yeah.
or at the very least, some Jewish guy named Thomas went to India in the 1st century and preached the gospel. Okay, I can't prove it's the same Thomas. All right, but like, okay, airtight. I presented to him, and this is a guy with a PhD. This is a reform guy with a PhD, the name people recognize. So that's why I'm not going to give it right now. But with the name people recognize, and he looked at me and said, "The Bible says that St. Paul was the apostle to the Gentiles, so St. Thomas can't have gone and preached to Gentiles."
That is so crazy. What?
Wild.
Like, there is no evidence that could convince him.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I have information on why St. Augustine and Origen would be anti-icon, but it seems pretty obvious to me. Like, both of them are Platonists. Origen, obviously, in a worse way than St. Augustine, but, I mean, if you're a Platonist and, you know, anything material, any material thing is like the shadow of an image of reality, you know, then obviously you're going to be kind of anti-icon because you don't have any kind of coherent metaphysics when it comes to material things being able to be holy. So I think that that's mitigated against a little bit in the case of St. Augustine by the fact that St. Augustine had a very strong sense of sacramental piety, which kind of, that emphasis cut against the anti-materialism of his Platonism, whereas Origen didn't. And so you just get a kind of weird anti-materialism. Everybody dies and becomes a sphere.
Reckless charm and my
but yeah, that would be why I think they're anti-icon. And so those aren't the people I would quote if I was Gavin Ortlund.
Yes, we're gonna save the world and crack down jokes.
Yeah, somebody sent him this clip. I want him to react and have to watch me playing Captain America while he's responding to what I said. Yeah, that's the strangest argument to me. If anyone can explain that to me, I'd love to hear it. Orthodox Church is bad, and I wouldn't become Orthodox because they say that if you're not Orthodox, you're not in the church. Okay. That's a reason not to become Orthodox? Like, how does that make any sense? Right? Like, if we said it doesn't matter, if you become Orthodox or not, then I could see saying, oh, well, I'm not going to become Orthodox because they say it doesn't matter. But being like, oh, no, they say it's really important that you join the Orthodox Church, therefore I won't join the Orthodox Church. That makes no sense. Unless there's just like a missing thing there. Like Ortlund thinks everything that's true is nice. Maybe. Therefore, that's not nice, so it can't be true. Because otherwise, the question is, right, okay, they say that, you know, only Orthodoxy is the true church, or maybe they say you're anathema if you're not in it. Are they right? Right? That would be the question one would ask. Say, are they correct? Because if they're correct, I should join the Orthodox Church, because I'm in real trouble if I don't. But he doesn't ask the question, are they correct? He asks the question, is that mean to say? But you can't even assess that without assessing if it's true. Because if it's true, then saying it isn't mean. Saying it isn't the nicest thing you can do if it's true. Because you're trying to help that person, right? By telling them the truth. Whereas if it's not true, if it's telling them a falsehood, well then yeah, that would be mean. So the question is entirely, is a statement true? That's what needs to be assessed. And whether it's nice or mean, only comes into effect once you've established if it's true. I don't know. I don't know how much of Ortlund's horror with the idea of anathema is legitimate. And here's what I mean by that. There are people he considers anathema. He might not want to use the word, right? But even if he doesn't want to use the word, which St. Paul uses the word, so I don't know how you could totally get around it. He would have to say, from his perspective, like Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses are anathema, right? They teach a false gospel. He might even technically, if he was going to be honest and wasn't in public and going to be, judged for it, might even say I'm anathema, frankly. But he has to think that Jehovah's Witnesses, based on his view, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons are anathema. They're not Christians, right? Like, they're outside the church. So he doesn't like that word being applied to him, right? But that's different than being horrified at the concept. That's being horrified at, him being pegged as that. So, and he's too smart a guy and too well educated a guy to really be horrified at that, to really be like deeply hurt, even if it was true that I didn't think he was a Christian. And I do think Gavin Ortlund is a Christian of a type. He's not an Orthodox Christian, but I do think he's a Christian of a type, right? As opposed to like William Lane Craig, who is not a Christian, right? I think Gavin Ortlund is a Christian of a type. But let's say I thought he was not a Christian, right? Like, I would expect him to care as much about my opinion as William Lane Craig does. Right? Even if I thought he was going to hell, I would expect him to. Right? But see, I don't think he's icked out by the church being able to damn people, because he would do it to Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses, and maybe even Roman Catholics. Right? Like, he would do it to other people. It's just he doesn't want it applied to himself. Oh, wow, that's not bad. I got 23 kills as the thing on that while tanking. Not bad. I'm just going to pat myself on the back here for a minute. Yeah, so I don't think it's the concept, man. And I don't think he cares a hill of beans whether I think he's going to heaven or hell. Right? And why would you?
Or villain. I'm not judging.
Right? Like, I have evangelicals online call me a necromancer, an idolater, say I'm preaching a false gospel of works righteousness, blah, 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 all the time. I don't care, right? Like, it doesn't keep me up at night. Like, oh no, they think I'm going to hell. They think I'm not a real Christian, right? I don't care. Right? Gavin Ortlund doesn't care what I think. But I think Gavin Ortlund knows that if he goes... No, Crystal Pepsi is vile. Like, you don't want to try and drink Crystal Pepsi.
Always comes first.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
But anyway, but I think Ortlund knows that his audience, if he tells his audience, oh, the Orthodox don't think you're a real Christian, they think you're going to hell. He knows if he tells them that, they won't look any further into Eastern Orthodoxy.
The battle starts in 5.
They'll just conclude that the Orthodox are mean, bad people and stay away from it. I think that's how that's actually functioning. I think it's counter-missionary. It's counter-evangelism, because he knows there are a lot of currently Protestant people coming into the Orthodox Church. He wants to stem the tide of that. And, you know, this is a way to... It's basically a thought and conversation stopping mechanism, right? Which you should always be leery of. Anytime someone makes an argument or presents something to you, that's trying to tell you not to ask certain questions or not to listen to anything certain people say, you should be super suspicious. Because, like, I'll give you an example. I took some of my catechumens. Okay? I took some of my catechumens to hear James White speak. To hear James White, a Reformed Baptist, talk about the evils of Roman Catholicism. And you know why I can do that? Because I ain't scared, right? I can respond to everything he had to say, right? And they got to see, when I talk about Protestantism or I talk about Calvinism, they got to see Exhibit A, that I wasn't making things up, that no, this is what they teach and what they believe. And I had already talked to them in catechesis about why what he was saying was wrong. And yes, Magic Rag was hysterical. Right? So you will never catch me telling somebody, oh, don't listen to what someone has to say, don't read this book, don't do that or whatever, right? Go ahead and read it. I'll talk to you about it, right? And if I think it's wrong, I'll explain to you why I think it's wrong, right? But yeah, go out and read all the best Calvinists, read all the best evangelical and Protestant theologians, right? And if any of them can convince you not to join the Orthodox Church, you shouldn't join the Orthodox Church. You know? That's an element of Ortlund's approach that I don't respect so much. We'll put it that way. In terms of the right with Anthony Hopkins, super creepy donkey. I generally liked it, but in terms of demonic activity, like realistic depictions of demonic activity, you're not going to get better than Hereditary. That's a brutal movie. I don't recommend watching it necessarily. Like, it's tough to watch. It will kind of mess up your day, if not your week, if not your life. But there's a very realistic depiction of demonic activity. Because most of that occult stuff actually happens within families.
Well, it ain't easy being this strong or this handsome.
So, yeah, and a big part, I think with Ortlund too,
30 seconds before you
I don't
attack.
think Protestant
Get ready.
apologists, any of them, are really prepared to deal with having conversations, let alone debates, with actual Orthodox people who are grounded in actual Orthodox theology. Because a lot of Protestant apologetics, you know, there are arguments against Roman Catholicism, and there are internal Protestant v. Protestant group arguments that have been around a long time and that people sort of have memorized, and they know the argument, they know the counters to the argument, they know how to back up the argument, they know how to, you know, frame that argument. And the Orthodox Church is not Catholicism or any of those Protestant groups. It is legitimately a third thing, and they aren't necessarily prepared. I think that's what happened in my conversation with Gavin Ortlund, that was supposed to be about Sola Scriptura, and the when I presented sort of my positive statement about Sola Scriptura, about how tradition works in the Orthodox Church, and it very much wasn't the Roman Catholic view, I don't think he had an immediate good response, and so he kind of took off on the iconography topic because I think he felt like he had a better sense of where to go with that and how to press that argument. Like, that topic was more congenial to him. He was more prepared. Which is a shame, because, you know, we could have talked about the other topic, but the original topic.